Welcome to God with George Ortega. This is episode number 77. I gotta check. Hold on. Yeah, 77. I'm recording it on Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 8:04 p.m. Eastern Time. And I want to start with this idea that that God seems to always be communicating with us, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, whether it's communicating through our thoughts or through our feelings, through our sensations, through what we're perceiving. There's always communication. There's always, we're always communicating with God as God is manifesting herself, at that particular moment, I suppose. But a lot of times, so we tend to believe that this communication between us and God is direct. But what we discover is that very often the communication is indirect. Meaning, for example, you're having a conversation with someone and God is basically manifesting God's will through that person. So whatever that person's saying and you're hearing God, but through the filter of this person. And that actually may explain why, a lot of what we hear from God, because everything's coming from God, isn't necessarily in your best interest or correct, accurate, wise, and that's why we have to discern between right and wrong, morality, immorality, all that. But so, it's pretty easy to understand how, again, especially with other people, with the written language or the linguistically, with words and all, that that it's an indirect communication from God. But here's what I was thinking about earlier. For example, like it would be my inclination to believe that if God is placing thoughts in my mind like God does, that's how our thoughts get into our mind. I mean, that it would be a direct communication, as opposed to just a conversation with someone. But now I'm thinking to myself, we don't have the evidence to conclude that. And what I mean by that, I think most directly, is that let's take as our premise this idea that God, for example, initially created angels, these beings that God worked with, God had do whatever God had wanted done, whatever. And a lot of times angels are known as messengers. So if we take that premise, and let's say reality is just filled with angels. I think there's scripture about that, like 1,000 legions or angels, I don't know, would surround someone, would protect that person. If we see our reality, if we expand it from beyond what we can like perceive through our science and through our senses into this idea of, well, this unseen world, then what happens is we're confronted with the reality. Well, there are these, so like that it's an indirect communication that God, for example, let's say, all right, let's say you get the idea to go for a walk, okay? And that idea, that thought goes into your mind, comes into your mind. And again, initially you may think it's coming directly from God, but, then you have to again, posit it may come, and perhaps probably comes from an angel, as a messenger. So God basically has the angel say whatever God wants, whatever. Because again, you have to understand, like, it's not just we human beings that do not have free will, that we're always ever manifesting God's will. Any being that God creates with a certain matter of agency, the ability to act, would also be manifesting God's will. So, so now, and that I think that understanding, that perspective, perhaps explains why discernment is so important. You know, we're talking about discernment because basically, in my view, the scripture, you know, the Bible is really about morality. It's really a guidebook for how to live most virtuously in order to live most happily, you know, for oneself, for everyone, you know, animals, for everyone. And so so then what happens is, like, you know, you get a thought comes into your mind. Again, naturally, you're going to think, oh, it's your thought, you know, it's just coming from you. And even like, you know, this idea of discernment would still hold, you know. In other words, like, we can't hold ourselves to be perfect beings, that every thought we have is going to, you know, be correct in the sense of leading us more fully to a more virtuous and happy life. So, you know, but let's say we take this other perspective, that there are angels, you know, and these angels are kind of like God's messengers for various things. Now, so like, there are various kinds of implications of this, things that we observe just from our experience. One, for example, is that, again, we may think we're supposed to do something at a certain time, you know, during the day, you know, and the thought may come to us, you know, about that. Then we realize, oh, you know, this is actually something that's, and this happened to me recently, this is something that's actually scheduled for next week. So this thought was mistaken, you know. And again, so like, it was inaccurate, you know. I received a thought. Naturally, I don't believe it's from me, because I, you know, don't believe in free will. I believe it's, well, it's natural law of God's will. But anyway, some angel, this is where I guess kind of cool, because again, you have to imagine reality not just populated with people, but populated with these, you know, semi-divine forces, these angels, these celestial beings that are manifesting God's will in ways that we can't perceive with our senses. Our science hasn't been able to detect. And so why the discernment? I mean, like, if we go, you know, if we want to just go back to the Bible, Genesis, you know, that serpent was a visible, you know, physical agent of God, but it was testing Adam and Eve. It was deceiving Adam and Eve. You know, it just wasn't giving accurate or helpful or wise information. You know, and you know, Adam and Eve should have rejected it all. But that's the reason why discernment is so important, because, like, apparently, you know, it seems that yes, God created some angels, and you know, now again, this is so speculative. It could be that angels, just like we, make mistakes. That one angel, you know, assigned to, let's say, tell you what you're going to eat. I mean, it's, you know, just they may kind of like sometimes get it right and sometimes get it wrong, you know, or it could be, you know, just like human beings, we get things right and wrong all the time. But it could be that some angels have the and again, this is completely speculative. We're only guessing, but we have to do this, you know, because and you know, like, relative to science always guesses initially before it can understand anything. So maybe while we may not be able to understand this with any degree of certainty now, in 100 years, they may, it might be common knowledge, the kinds of angels that exist and all that, and what they do and how they do it. So like, all right, so some angels could be assigned to always tell us what's wise and true and accurate and good. And other angels may be assigned to test us, to tempt us, to deceive us, to make us. And this, if this seems familiar, this, I guess within, I don't know if it's Jewish also, but within Christianity, there's this idea that that Satan, rebelled against. Satan was God's favorite angel, and apparently he wasn't satisfied with that, so he rebelled against God. He, apparently got 1/3 of the angels to follow him, and they're all perhaps in that sense like just trying to like undo this world, or just like uh, for whatever purpose. And interestingly, if it's just 1/3, then like that's what, like in our movies and generally a lot of times in life, good wins. The good guys win. It may take a while and all, but like that gives us hope in the future, optimism. Days we're going through right now. But that, that's an interesting consideration, that some angels, and again, I'm using the word angel because it's something that's common. Like we can refer to these angels, for example, as forces of nature, as spirits. I guess that's perhaps more common. So these beings, and they're actually, we can refer to them as aliens, because we tend to think, oh, aliens, they're out there in the universe, out beyond this solar system, beyond this galaxy, perhaps, I don't know, or maybe they're on Mars, who knows? But like we tend to think of aliens as out there when really, when you think about it, these aliens could be all around us all the time, helping us, testing us, challenging us, just having these roles that they play. So again, just relative to that, it's an open question as to whether some angels will always tell us the truth and some will always lie to us, whatever. But again, I think you understand why there's this need for discernment, discerning, is this thought that I'm receiving either from my friend or from this spirit, this alien being that's somehow in a way we don't understand, transmitting thoughts to our brain that is receiving them. Our brains is like a radio receiver, whatever. So, but I started with this idea that we tend to believe that that our communication with God is direct, at least when we think our thoughts. And so, like this is it just makes us wonder about that and then question it. And the other part of these beings, spirits, again, it's very important to understand that just as we humans cannot possibly in any sense have a free will, or any sense that describes what free will means, because a lot of times people will say, oh no, I want a free will, and I can't have a free will the way it's been debated for the last 2 or 3 millennium, so I'm going to change what free will means. No, free will, it means that like to have a free will is like what you think is up to you, and that nothing that is not you can is compelling you to think or feel or say what you do. So naturally, I mean, like there's, I mean, we'll get into this, I guess, now, because why not? Now, one of the reasons that you don't have a free will is because, like, if your thoughts were all up to you, and I say this for myself also, why aren't you completely blissed out? Your feelings, right? You could think all these thoughts that have you be blissed out every moment of every day, or you value virtue, you study the Bible, you want to understand God. This is like to be virtuous. If you have a free will, if your thoughts, your decisions are up to you, why are you making so many immoral decisions? And, and we all make immoral decisions. A lot of times we're in denial of some of them, so like this is experiential evidence, incontrovertible, that we don't have a free will, but it goes beyond that. I mean, like you could say that, for example, I'm just invoking causality. Why don't we have a free will? Because nothing except God, I got to start saying except God, because ordinarily I say nothing happens without a cause, but God apparently is the only thing that happens without a cause, because God wasn't cause, God always existed, whereas everything else but God had a beginning, presumably. So because our world operates according to this God-given law of causality, cause and effect, then just think of any thought that comes into your mind, any feeling you have. There's going to be a cause to that. And again, if everything with God has a cause, there's going to be a cause to that, and 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 because we're the point is that everything but God has a cause, and these causes like always will come before what they cause. A cause can't come in the future. Like this is like in physics. There is no backward arrow of time. Time goes forward in one direction. You can't like go back and forward like that. So these causes are like regressing back moment by moment, cause by cause. And the best way to see this is like the state of the universe. State of the universe is at this particular moment in time was completely caused by the state of the universe at the previous moment in time, which was caused by the previous. And so like naturally, we and everything we think and everything we do are part of this universe, part of this causal moment by moment evolution of the universe. All right, I didn't expect to get into that, but like we got about 10 minutes left, or 11, whatever. So I want to get back to, because this show is most primarily about God, about understanding God. So then the question, and I've asked this before and I'll ask it again, hoping that perhaps there's an answer to it. Why does God compel these spirits, these aliens, these angels that deceive us, that tempt us in ways that aren't in our best interest? Why does God compel them to do that? And I can't pretend to begin to have an answer to that. And the good thing is, like, I think I'm wise enough to not attempt to judge God, to say, well, that's really wrong of God to have done that. I mean, it kind of like seems wrong, right? At first glance. But, what I say to myself is like, I'm a being with limited intelligence, especially relative to God, and limited information. So for me to presume to be able to judge, the virtue of what God does, generally seems presumptuous, just not valid enough, not thought through enough. But I can't stop feeling, and this is like, so I asked myself, wait a minute, like, and this is like before, this is all right. So like basically we're asking actually, why did God create pain? Because whenever someone or a spirit, an angel, gives us misinformation, lies to us, deceives us, that has at least the possibility of creating pain for us, suffering. That's why these things are not good. So then the question becomes, well, it's not so much why God compels these angels to do that, but why God created us human beings with the ability that we can't avoid of not just enjoying life, which nobody's going to complain about. I mean, like, let's enjoy life as much as possible, but of also suffering. Why would God create beings like us who God engineered, designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain? That's our most fundamental motivation in life. That guides our morality, that guides our reason, that guides everything. Why would God do that? And so, like, an interesting kind of like an aspect to that question is that it wasn't, at least on this planet Earth, wasn't always like that. Because you go back 300 million years, supposedly, according to what our biologists, archaeologists, I don't know what kind of scientists study that, but you go back 300 million years, and then you get to a point where decapods evolved. These are like 10-limbed sea creatures. They all lived in the sea, like crabs and lobsters. They have 10 limbs, and apparently, our understanding is, I guess, because of their neural biology, their apparatus, they are the first beings on Earth. After, I think, what is it? I should look this up. Maybe 4 billion years of life on the planet, 4.5 billion. It's only within the last 300 million years, which is like, eons to us, but, relatively, it's 1/50th of this, almost 14 billion year old universe, from the Big Bang. So yeah, the idea is like, in order to understand or try to understand why God created pain, I think it's helpful to acknowledge that it wasn't always like that. That for 49/50ths of our existence, of the existence of this universe, it wasn't like that. And not only that, there have to be countless other worlds in other solar systems, in other galaxies, and my hope, my expectation, this isn't just a hope because I'm like, think about it. My hope is that some of these civilizations, have reached a point, or maybe they always started that way. Maybe it was like God likes to create worlds and just like, just alternates between different ways of doing that. So like, you would hope that some of these worlds are inhabited by beings, whether they're like us or doesn't matter what they look like, or but they are incapable of suffering. They're only capable of feeling joy, virtuous joy. They're not capable of doing anything wrong either. And that's actually, that's what we're driving at here. I mean, that's what this whole idea about the Messianic era, the Messiah, although I'm not sure it goes completely to this idea of a total bliss on earth. But yeah, and the other part is that before this universe, presumably an infinite number of previous universes, again, God is eternal. God has more than enough time to create as many universes as you want, and so this, because this universe, like our scientists tell us, at first they thought it was going to, like, this expansion would just go on forever. And actually, no, I think that's their most prevalent thinking now, that space is just like inflating, and then, like, at a certain amount of time, everything will be so far away from it, everything else, that life will not be able to exist for various physical reasons. I'm not really sure why that is. I don't, the atoms don't come together. But yeah, there could have been a lot of, so anyway, so like, I think it's encouraging to understand that, and the other thing that goes along with sentience and the ability to feel pleasure and pain, having started with the Decapods 300 million years ago, is that in order to have evil, you have to have pain. If there's if you create a population of beings, if God created a population of beings that were just capable of feeling boundless joy, incapable of feeling any pain, not the slightest, no pain at all, then that world would, by definition, have no evil, because evil is, in our understanding, what creates suffering and pain. This is something that I learned from John Locke, British philosopher, who said that goodness is what creates happiness. And it makes sense, what's good is what leads to maintaining or increasing your happiness and or maintaining and increasing the happiness of others, those around you. So, all right, we got 2 minutes, and this was kind of fun. I was on a class, right before this, and this rabbi, he's really excellent teacher, really entertaining, knows his stuff, and he's got like such positive energy. So like I find that like when I record these episodes immediately after attending his class, they tend to come out not just better, but I think a lot better. And and I've done this with other rabbis, and yeah, same thing. So it's very cool. So I should arrange my tapings around these classes. And thank goodness with Zoom, I mean, like, there's pretty much classes every day. I mean, it's great. All right, so that's all that God has me have time for today. Because, yeah. So what else? It seems, all right. Oh, I was supposed to do this with Andy, my friend Andy, but we're having technical difficulties, which hopefully we'll figure out tomorrow. And so if we don't tape an episode tomorrow, hopefully we'll tape one soon after that. I'm not sure, but I want to, it's great doing shows with him because he and I have been friends for almost 40 years. We don't see each other that much now. So, and so it just makes the show a lot more entertaining, I think. So, all right. So thanks for watching. Catch this series every Monday through Friday on White Plains Community Media, channel 76 if you get Optimum, 45 if you get Verizon. And all the episodes are also on YouTube. And so God had me basically, now I think God hopefully will have me print out that list of topics, because I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And it's kind of like a nice thing during the day to kind of like, all right, what is it that's relevant for today? All right, anyway, hope you're having a good evening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon, God willing.